Okay, so we're back in the shop, and by shop I mean my garage, and we got some pretty decent temperature. So it's pretty warm here in New England at the moment, and 85 for where I live is pretty hot. So with that being said, though, we're reaching those temperatures where we can actually kind of start working on some of the stuff. Obviously, you want to make sure your parts are warm enough; they're going to meet those temperature requirements that you would to go through and get some of the stuff knocked out. So that means Glyptal time. We're gonna start doing the head, and then we'll talk about some stuff that I recently got. So, but first, I gotta kind of acknowledge something. I made a little bit of a mistake, and wasn't really paying attention to it as much as I should. And apparently, there were two types of Glyptal. I originally purchased 1202. Yep, 1202, which is a clear varnish, right? So in case you don't know, Glyptal is basically made by, I want to say it was originally by GE, and the whole purpose of it's like insulate, electrical producing equipment, things of that nature, big giant motor generators and stuff like that, right? So if you've ever worked like at a power plant or, somewhere that has a nuclear reactor, for example, we've got motor generators, turbine generators, things of that nature, right? Glyptal is kind of a coating that's for that. And it's a strong, durable coating, but it's also really good for being like, it's like hydrophobic, but for oil, I guess is what it comes down to, right? So it repels oil very well, which is the whole point of why we're doing this in the first place. So there's a clear version, which I purchased without quite realizing that it's 1201. What you're actually supposed to get is, or 1202, you're supposed to get 1201. This is the red Glyptal coating. So now I have both of them, I guess. So I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with this one as a future project. I don't know. We'll see. But I made that mistake, and I ended up having to get the correct one, which was a bit of a pain because getting that stuff shipped, because it's considered hazmat, made it to where it's like very limited in terms of where you can get it from. Another item was kind of a pain, that's very hard and limited to get a hold of, is Cerakote. So I originally wanted to get Cerakote V163, which is an oven cure version, but that requires special hazmat controls and stuff like that to ship it. So I ended up getting Cerakote C186. So in case you don't recall, the whole point is to Cerakote the top of the piston, which we already got sandblasted, and the exhaust as well, right? So I haven't done it before, so my goal is to go through and Cerakote it. I have an okay paint setup, and by okay, I mean like fairly okay-ish, exactly what it sounds like. But it's the only one that I had to kind of really be hypercritical on is the piston. This is the air curing version, which apparently takes like 5 days to cure. And once it's air cured, it has the exact same properties as the oven cure version, right? So, so that's gonna be the goal with this. We're gonna do that at some point. I'm gonna do the exhaust first as a learning piece, or maybe I'll spray some cardboard first. But you would not be surprised at just this one pint how expensive Cerakote actually is. Very surprising, and so I guess that makes sense why certain gun things are so expensive to get freaking Cerakoted, because of how expensive just the 1 pint bottle actually ends up being. That being said, I could not resist this, so I watch a lot of Cletus McFarland's channel, but they had a sale recently, thanks to Cletus not being able to hard park the Sonic, and so with that, there's you can kind of see it there. They have a 600 piece stainless bolt set, and thanks to him not being able to park his car, it was 30% off, and it's a very hard deal to pass up, because at that price it comes out to 16 cents a bolt, right? If you go to the parts store right now, I mean, you're gonna get like a 3-pack for like $5, right? So for 16 cents a bolt for stainless hardware, that's gonna last a long time. Kind of a no-brainer. So pick that up, and obviously motorcycles stay outside, or at least they go outside. Mine sits in the garage, but you know, any corrosion resistant stuff that you can get is always going to be good. All right, last update before we actually get to it. Hopefully I didn't lose anybody at this point, but I am not going to take credit for it. I'll put a link to it down below. There's a guy who painstakingly went through the process of finding and installing a much larger thermostat, right? I know some of you guys were talking about how there's limitations in the cooling system and all this other stuff, and really you need to look at the thermostat as well, because that's going to be very restrictive within it. And the answer is you're absolutely right. But there's one guy, and to his credit, he took some photos. I'm probably going to reach out to him to find out about what hose he used, because there is some challenges that are going to be with it. So that's going to be its own thing at some point. But he used an Aprilia part, and I think it's like Aprilia 1042 is what the part is. Much larger thermostat. The ports are bigger, so it means, you know, larger hoses. And apparently it's a little bit of a tight squeeze within that area to get it to fit, which, I mean, that's not too big of a deal. I think we can solve that. The biggest thing is getting the correct size hoses, and I'll grab it right now. But there's two hoses specifically, or two ports specifically, that require like much bigger hoses, right? So that's the hard part. I've been like digging through the internet just trying to find something similar to it. And I think it's time to just kind of reach out to them and say, hey, what size do you guys get? I found a place where they sell them similar to what I'm looking for, but it's in Europe, or I guess it's a common size in Europe, because I can find it on eBay UK or something like that. But if this works, which obviously this guy has been using it, it's going to be great. I think, I got to remember what the specs were. I think it was saying the OEM one is 88 degrees Celsius, and this one opens at like 75 degrees Celsius. So it opens, not only is it bigger, right, more volume, but it also opens earlier as well, which should help out a lot when it comes to just keeping this thing cool overall, right? So let me grab this part real quick, and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so here's what we're looking at. And as you can see, almost exactly the same design as what we're working with on our KTM, right? There you can see the part number. Let's see. Yep, 101042 and Aprilia, right? You can even see kind of inside of it. Let's see if there's a good angle. Yeah, right there, the thermostat. Okay, now this is kind of what the tricky part is this port up here is big. It's like, I measured here, it's 27 mil. I think this is like 26 mil. And this one's okay, nothing too crazy. I think we'll be fine with our OEM hose for that. But these two are going to be the ones that are kind of difficult to figure out. I'll do a much more detailed, in-depth video on it, because we're going to compare it with the other one. But more importantly, we're going to have to really kind of figure out how the install is going to work with this, because of how freaking chunky this thing is. But again, that's not the point of this video. And I don't even have all the ports for it yet. So just something that I've been working on. So take a look at the link if you're interested below. He does have some photos of it up. And you can kind of see the pain that he kind of had to go through. I'm hoping to avoid some of those pains, if possible. I don't know. We'll see. But let's go ahead and get to it. First step is going to be, I'm going to pull this thing out and pre-warm it in my oven. I think I'm probably going to just do a good medium coat, just one coat. I don't think I really need to do more than that. So I know you can do multiple coats, but I'm gonna pre-warm it to make it to where it adheres a little bit better. So probably somewhere around 100 degrees, and then I'll pull it out, throw it in here. We'll get everything mixed up. I've got some acid brushes or some really small paint brushes, and then we're gonna do a interior paint to this thing. And then from there, I'm gonna let it air cure essentially for the next 5 days. And then after that, I'm gonna bust out my powder coating oven, and we'll slap it in there and get it baked off. So, okay, well, be right back. I'm gonna throw it in the oven. You don't need to see that part though. Well, guys, I made a little bit of a mistake. Lost some of my footage. So I had some footage about me actually going through and installing and painting on the Glyptal. However, I don't seem to have it anymore. I don't know what happened to it. Not sure if I accidentally deleted it, but unfortunately I am missing that footage. So there's going to be a huge gap, and then all of a sudden it's just going to show that it's done. So that's never happened to me. So sorry about that, folks, but hopefully you enjoy the rest of it. Whew, man, it is hot in here. As you can see, we are done. Got a little cleanup work to do. Really didn't account for the fact that when I was painting down the bottom, that was going to drip down where the chain goes through. And then as I kind of moved the head around a little bit, got some on the deck surface, which no big deal. I mean, I'll be able to clean that up super easy. So, but overall, the process was not bad. My biggest concern was not getting it into any of the seating surfaces. So let's take a look. And you can see a little bit of stuff on the edges, but more importantly, nothing on the journal bearings. So I'm happy about that. Got a little bit down there. Those right there are specifically for the head studs. So that's not a problem, but the spring perches, all that stuff looks good. So it dries really quickly. It gets tacky really quickly. So I'm just going to leave this in the garage, let it kind of cure for a little bit. I don't want to touch anything or clean any of the stuff up just yet. I'll probably go through with like some really super fine grit sandpaper to clean this up. But for now, we're done with this. We'll let it cure. And then the big thing I'll tell you is look from all kinds of angles, right? Check all the angles, because as you keep looking, you're going to find spots that you missed, and then you're going to change it, and then find more spots that you missed, and there's just going to be a lot of spots. You saw me doing a bunch of touch-up work in here, right? So lots of touch-up work that was required. We are one step closer. So where does that leave us right now? We're going to bake it in the oven here in about 4 or 5 days, and then after that, it's cleanup and head assembly time. So we can get the head put together. We can do the valve shim and do the calculations for that using that fancy new app I made. With the power of AI, I'm just going to throw it out there because some of you guys are probably like, oh God, it's AI, right? I already checked it though. I give very specific parameters and it does work as it's intended. So yes, we did use AI for that, just like I'm using it for another project, right? So I am using it for another project that I'm hopefully going to put out pretty soon as well. And it is simply going to be a computer slash, HTML app that you can use on your phone as well. And the whole point is it's going to have several groupings, with the engine, chassis, things like that. And there's even a searchable bar where you can go on there and put whatever you're looking for. And it'll tell you exactly where it's grouped as far as torque specs and all that other good stuff. So it makes it a little bit easier than having to dig through it. I haven't done anything with it yet as far as releasing it. It is a product. And by a product, I mean, it'll just be available for whoever wants it. But the important thing is that I need to go through and verify the torque specs on there. So I uploaded the repair manual into it and then used the repair manual to, pull the information off of there. But AI is AI, and it requires me to go through and verify it and ensure that the numbers and readings on there are correct. Because the last thing that I would want to do is for you guys to use it without double checking it. And then, as you guys know, some of this metal could be fragile, and just, the wrong torque spec would be fairly disastrous. And I don't want to do that to you guys. So it's already made. That just requires me to go through and inspect it and check that stuff. So I'm going to work on that probably maybe throughout the week. I'll do a little bit at a time. And then once it's done, we'll probably post it up so you guys can see it. And then I'll have it available for you guys to download from my Dropbox. So if there's any other ideas that you have, beyond that though, I mean, I'm trying to think how else we can leverage it to make our lives a little bit easier. So if you got any questions, let me know. And then I guess we'll see you in the next one. And then, more importantly, tell me what you think of the Glyptal stuff. There's lots of videos on it that are available. Look online. The there's lots of testing on it, right? So the people have been using it for quite a long time. I didn't want to do the cam bridge because the cam bridge is very intricate. There's a lot of things that are going on. I'm just doing it for the basin of the head, so to speak. We'll see how it cures. But that's it for now, y'all, and I'll see you in the next one. Well, decided that I'm gonna go ahead and bake it. I looked online, and I was waiting a little bit too long, a lot longer than I probably needed to. So I'm gonna include it at the end of this. So I'm gonna go ahead and get everything set up. I've already gone through, cleaned this all up. Now, what we should see is that this should gel up and then smoothen out quite a bit more. Right over here, I've got my powder coating set up. It's my powder coating oven, and currently working on getting this up to temperature. So I have a little oven thermometer inside of there, and yeah, we'll see how that looks. So once I get it to temperature, I'm gonna throw it in there, start the timer. It's like a 2-hour clock, and then when that happens, should be done. So we'll see how it looks, and then the next one will actually be reassembly, and you'll be able to see the end result of how this looks at the end of the video that I'm posting right now, not in the beginning of the other video. So okay, that's it. All right, here we go. It's baking.